Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello and happy Sunday. I'm trying to think what Sunday this is coming out on. Is it the last one of August? No, but we're getting there. We're almost in September. That's crazy, guys. I hope everyone has been enjoying the rest of their summer. So we've been starting to talk about relationships. And this is a topic that has been near and dear to my heart because I am approaching my 30th year in November, and age and marriage and kids are definitely on the topic of discussion when you start to hit your 30s, as a woman especially. And I would like to share my mindset and how I've changed a little bit when it comes to putting the pressure on myself to find the husband and have the kids and do all the things, and to just slow down for a moment and realize that I do have time, because those are still things that I do want. But I feel like with some of the things that I've learned over the years, I realize I don't need to be rushing and I don't need to be stressing. And I get a lot of questions from you guys that are younger than me. And I know, because I've been there. I'm 26. I feel like I have no time. And, everyone's getting into relationships or marriage or kids and this, that. And I'm, in my 30s now, and my fertility, there's so much misinformation on that even. And I'm going to talk about that too in this episode. So anyways, I just think it's a good topic to talk about. Now, to preface this, I am only just in a healthy relationship. I am not even in a marriage. I am not even preparing myself to conceive or trying to conceive. I haven't had a child, so I'm just speaking on my mindset towards these things, being somebody that is entering her 30s and who has felt pressure, being like, oh my gosh, time is ticking, my biological clock, relationships and things like that. So just take this with whatever grain of salt you want. Obviously, what I'm saying is not the end all be all. People have so many different vast experiences when it comes to when they want to have kids and marriage and things like that. Infertility issues, they are real, all of those things. But I just want to share some more light, I guess, to this really depressing sometimes topic. So the first thing that I learned, this is in my late 20s, is how important it is to take your time when it comes to entering a new relationship and just being in a relationship. And even if you're not in one yet, taking your time to date and find the right person for you, and just how important that time is and how long it actually really takes for you to have, in my personal opinion, a successful marriage, a healthy even relationship moving forward. I think that we just rush into things. We rush into the dating, we rush into relationships, we rush into I need to get a ring ASAP, 1 year in. And listen, people will get married in 6 months and they will be together for 25 years. That can definitely happen. But I just think that if it's not happening for you or it hasn't yet, don't automatically think that you're failing or you need to pressure yourself into doing things just because everyone else is doing it or you see people around you who are in different stages. Understand that your timeline is your timeline when it comes to anything. And I know it's hard to not compare yourself when somebody is getting into a relationship or everyone around you is having kids or getting into marriages. But the way I look at it is this. I personally have had to unlearn and relearn how to be in healthy relational patterns with people, especially romantic partners. I came from lots of different types of trauma, like most of you guys who watch my podcast, attachment style issues, very anxious, sometimes leaning on avoidant. And I had to work through that. And that actually took a very long time. And I think back to when I was 25 being like, oh my gosh, I'm not in a relationship yet and I need to have a kid by 27. Thank God I didn't, because I hadn't even worked through a lot of my anxious attachment. I didn't even really know what I wanted or what I should have looked for in a partner, especially a man, and how important it is to really make sure that you are going to be with a good partner for when it is time for motherhood, if that is what you choose, or even just marriage. And everyone is going to have to learn different things when it comes to being in relationships. And for instance, in my experience, I've had to learn how to have better conflict resolution communication skills, essentially, like learning how to repair in relationships when there might be disagreements, or there might be constructive feedback, or somebody is maybe not in the best mood. I don't need to take it as they don't like me or they hate me or I've ruined everything. Like, I didn't learn how to have healthy forms of being in a relationship with someone without, like, for instance, like my dad, like he was he was very emotionally suppressive, but he was also mad and angry a lot of the time. So I would be so afraid to make the wrong move or be myself or get him mad, and I would tiptoe around him a lot and things like that. But you can't be like that in a relationship, and a healthy relationship. There's room for you to mess up or maybe disappoint somebody, where that person is not going to hold it against you or, like get you in trouble or make you feel like you're in trouble, and instead like have healthy communication and understand that, you can have disagreements or different ways of communicating, and that person still love you, and you work through those things as a team, things like that. Like, I needed to learn how to do those things before even thinking about, oh yeah, I want to have a kid, I want to have all the, like, I want to have a marriage and all of these things. Like, I'm rushing into these things, yet I don't even know how to really have a healthy relationship. And no relationship is perfect. You don't need to be perfect, but there are just certain fundamental things that are very important for you to experience and take your time with before even pressuring yourself into taking next steps with people. Another thing, like I mentioned, I needed to learn how to be more securely attached. I used to be very anxious with definitely the wrong people, but I also just needed to learn how to self-regulate as well and self-soothe, which I did, but that took a lot of time. That took many years of unlearning and, finding the right people to date and being self-aware and really working on myself and working on my mental health and having healthy practices in my life and changing my life and working out of traumas, all those things. And I'm very happy that I did, because I just don't think that I was necessarily in the proper place to be like, oh, I should have a kid now, or I should get into marriage right now, when those things weren't really addressed. Also, learning how to co-regulate with somebody else. I've been somebody who has lived a very independent life, and on one hand, that's great to be independent and to do things alone, but being in a relationship, it does require you to co-regulate with somebody and work with somebody else and take somebody else into consideration and not just yourself, and also be safe enough to lean on somebody and allow somebody to help you with things, or to just invite love and abundance in your life. And I think that that's a very great state for you to be in as a woman, especially when you are wanting to conceive and to have a healthy pregnancy, because you want your body to be in a state of rest and digest and calm. Not all the time. Like, we're very resilient and we can still get pregnant when life is not perfect. But I'm just saying, those things are also very fundamental when it comes to our mental health as mothers. Even if we don't go the route of being parents, I think it's important for the health of your relationship to be able to settle and be regulated. And I even think about when it comes to marriage is going to require me to be a different woman than I even am now. It doesn't mean that I am not worthy of it or that I can't do it. I think that if I had a kid today, I would definitely be able to go through it and be a good mom. And regardless of when I end up having a child, there's no perfect time. And even when it comes to marriage, like, technically, like, do I believe that I'd be a great wife now? Yes, I would. But at the end of the day, I think that there's just things that you need to learn when it comes to all these big stages in life. And I think that those things do take time. What I've been doing in my single life, well, I'm not single anymore, but my independent single life, I feel like I'm still kind of living that, because, I live by myself still, I have my own things and everything like that. I'm going to have to learn how to merge my life within my boyfriend's or my husband's life as well, and also take him into consideration with a lot more things eventually, and really building that union with somebody else and working on mutual growth and supporting each other and things like that is just going to require a different version of me, which will take time for me to be able to learn. And I'm going to make mistakes. I even make mistakes in my relationship now, and I'm like, oh, I didn't consider you in this situation, and I probably should have. And maybe I just made that decision based off of, how I always do things, independent, doing everything alone in my single era. Well, that's not how life is anymore now that I'm in a relationship. And it's also not going to be like that when I'm in a marriage and when I have kids. So it's just like a lot of different, unique, personal life experiences that you're going to need to learn and go through that you're going to need time for. So I just think it's important that we understand that relationship building takes time, and that's okay. And I personally believe that the best things in life take time. You know, even my podcast, social media, my life story, these things were built over time, and that is why they are so good. Why I believe I have some very good, wise advice is based off of a lot of hardship and a lot of effort and a lot of me going through the dumps and pushing through and working on myself and learning and unlearning and making mistakes and doing it again. Like, that takes time. All good things in life take time, especially when it comes to marriage and even being a good parent. And so if you're not in a relationship right now and you're like worried about not finding the one, just understand that the chapter of life that you are in is very crucial for who you are going to become. Even though you might not want to be in this era because, you know, maybe you've been single for too long. It's like, girl, I want to be in a relationship. I want to lean on someone. I want this. I want that. Or even if you're in a relationship and you want that next step, that's okay. But try your best to understand more of that spiritual lesson that could be at play. I always think there is a reason and a rhyme for every season of your life. And if you can try and be with it instead of resist it and surrender to it, I really find that in doing that surrendering, you will find that that takes you to that next step. It's like that next step requires you to surrender in this moment right now and to learn potentially some of the lessons that you might be learning. So if you're single right now, embrace the singleness, because there's going to be a day where you are not single. There is going to be a day where you're gonna have to consider somebody else every single day. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a great, beautiful thing. And I think after being independent for so long, it's actually nice to consider someone else. I even think with my dog Theo, like, it's nice to like get up and do stuff for him too, not just myself. You get to that point, but understand that there's going to be a time where you do not have as much freedom as you do. I even think about that, like I just said, with my dog, for my daily routine. Like, my daily routine, like, it's a lot of it is towards him. He's a puppy right now, so that's why, but a lot of it is towards him. And even my boyfriend, like, there was an adjustment period when it came to getting into a new relationship. There's actually a lot of people who ask me, like, how do you not lose yourself while you're in a relationship? And I think partly it's to understand that your life will change a little bit and there will be adjustments, and you're gonna need to put that relationship first and prioritize your relationship first, which means there might be things that you have to let go of. Now, of course, you still want to take care of yourself, and there is like a buffer period of you trying to get used to like a new routine while you're in a relationship and this, that. But then there comes the reality that your life is just going to be different, and you have to understand that. And I'm glad that I'm learning that now, because when I have kids, it's going to be the same lesson. So let's talk about this pressure to have children because of our biological clock as women. That's kind of like the angle that I'm going to be focusing on. I think for a lot of us, we typically are feeling like scared because we do know we have this biological clock. I feel like this generation is very convinced that once you start hitting like 27, 28, 29, 30, you're like doomed. And even with marriage, like, you're doomed, and there's going to be nobody on a dating market, and you're going to have no eggs left, and you're not going to be fertile, which is not true. It's literally not true. It doesn't mean that there's not a crisis right now when it comes to fertility, but I personally think that's due to the insane amount of stress that women are under, and the toxins in our environment and our food, and the way that the world is kind of ran right now, that it's no wonder that a lot of our bodies are not feeling safe enough to even conceive. But there's a lot of other reasons, and I'm not a doctor, so, you know, to each their own. I'm going to share a few resources, but I want to talk about something that I've been hearing a lot. And again, I was telling myself this, and maybe not everyone has heard this, but There's a lot of women that will say, you know, once you hit 35, your fertility basically plummets. You have about 10 to 20% chance of even getting pregnant naturally, yada, 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 which is statistically not true. And it doesn't mean that women who are, you know, approaching the 35-year-old like range, that for one, your fertility will be dropping, but it doesn't drop as much as we have been told. But also there might be underlying issues. Like I said, in this generation, our bodies are under an insane amount of stress, mental, emotional trauma, which is signaled to the body as stress, but also the things that we're eating and, you know, the schedules that we're on and overworking and all those things. But I actually want to play a TikTok that basically sums up what the misinformation is currently being fed, especially like on TikTok when it comes to like the infertility rates and things like that. And then she actually made a long form YouTube video deep diving further into this misinformation and also talking about the benefits of advanced maternal pregnancies, which is basically like anything over 35, which is still like the way that my brain chemistry just changed after really diving into some of this information. And now like I think about the fact that like 35 is still like a very young age to have kids, in my personal opinion. But I'm gonna play this for you guys, and if you're listening on audio, then you'll just hear the audio version.
If you're a woman in your 20s or 30s and you're feeling behind in life and been feeling pressure and the pull of a biological clock, let me share some facts with you. Your fertility starts to decrease only 1% every year after the age of 35. It does not fall off a cliff like a lot of people would like you to believe, i.e. the fertility industry and the overall status quo in America. A study in 2004 found that 82% of women aged 34 to 39 conceived naturally within a year, compared to 86% of women aged 27 to 34. So that's hardly a cliff, but they exaggerate the term of what a cliff is because they want to profit off of your fear. There are plenty of married women in their 40s and later who have perfectly healthy babies. They don't focus on those married women having babies because they're trying to get single women to feel insecure about not being in marriages and having kids. Also, studies have shown, including from the CDC, that advanced maternal age in mothers drastically improves the life of both the mother and the child. Because not only do you have access to more resources, but women are more patient, more self-actualized, more time to think about what type of parent they want to be. And the children fare much better academically, socially, and score higher just in overall happiness. Additionally, something that they don't tell you is that advanced maternal age is also linked to the parent living a longer life because they take care of themselves better in order to be there for their children. And yes, fertility accelerates more than 1% a year after you hit 40, but the data still is looking good for older moms. So please, you have enough time. Take your time. Enjoy your life. Find a partner that is a real partner and stop making permanent decisions for your life out of a fear mindset, because that's how people end up miserable. I just did a full comprehensive video with all of the data about this topic on my channel right here.
So I would suggest you go watch the longer form video that she did on that topic because she breaks things down even more, especially for Black women and Black communities as well. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that we are sold many lies about our fertility, and even when it comes to our cycles, birth control, the business side of birth control, and the fertility industry. Understand that these are for-profit industries. They profit off of us being afraid and scared and not having a lot of knowledge about our bodies and wanting something that is so precious like children. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think what's actually highlighted is the opposite. If you ever hear, oh, women over the age of 35 having a kid, that's very uncommon and it's like 1 in a million. That's actually not true. That's actually the opposite. And even if you go onto that YouTube video, you will see comments, so many comments of women saying, I had even a kid in my like early 20s or like my early 30s, and then I had one in my 40s. And what a complete different experience. It doesn't mean that they obviously regret having children young. And if you have children young, amazing. Like, you know, I am not judging, and who knows when I will have a child, you know, like I am just trying to open up our eyes to what's actually out there and what's actually possible. And I think that instead of us worrying and stressing so much about things that are, one, kind of out of our control, but two, that really don't necessarily matter right now, we should be focusing on other things. One of them she even mentioned in the video, which is go work on your relational trauma. Go get into a healthy relationship. Go get into a healthy relationship with yourself. go do those things first. And then also when it comes to fertility, which is a whole nother like topic, and you guys know I'm pretty into the health and wellness space when it comes to like more holistic wellness, but I'm not super anti Western medicine. I have IBD. I have to lean on the medical system, but I also do a lot of like natural remedies and things like that. So I'm a good balance. I've gone through so many years of the holistic world and the medical world, like the Western medical world. So I've had my own conclusions with that. But I think what we should really be doing is preparing our bodies the best that we can to even conceive, which means that looks like anywhere from 6 months to a year of really considering what you're putting in your body and the stress that you're under and all of these incredible factors that a lot of doctors will not even talk to you about, especially when you are looking to maybe actually conceive, like have a child, and really just preparing your body in that way before you even trying. Like, this is something that I'll probably be very passionate about in my 30s once I actually even go through those phases of my life. But I just like even look at my own health right now, and I'm not saying that I need to be perfect. Like, again, like maybe I could get pregnant tomorrow and my body is probably healthy enough, but I still look at my diet and my lifestyle and all the things that I'm working through and everything like that. I think that I need to go through at least that 6 months to a year preparation of making sure that I am really supporting my body the way that it needs to feel safe enough to then have a baby. And that's a whole journey in itself. So I just think that we are misinformed, for one. We're under a lot of stress, which then does not help us to have a child if that is what we want. We are not being told the right things when it comes to preparing our bodies. And like, for instance, when it comes to birth control, there's so many of us that are still on birth control. I've been off of it for almost 10 years now, but there's women who are told like, oh, you don't need to take out your IUD or you don't have to get off of hormonal birth control until like 1 month before you really want to actually conceive, and this, that, which then those are the same women who are struggling to conceive, and then they have to go on IVF because they are struggling, when realistically, yes, you could definitely get pregnant after just like 1 month of being off your birth control. You know, who knows, right? Everyone is different, but your body needs a lot more time to get back into its natural rhythms than just 1 month of you being off of a synthetic hormone that you've been on for years and years and years and years and years that were probably masking symptoms that you didn't even know of. And your diet might be very poor. You might not be absorbing the nutrients that you need, whatever. Your stress might be high. All of these important factors that are going to indicate whether you're going to have a pregnancy and also bring that baby to term. And also you have a good, healthy pregnancy, like you actually experiencing not a lot of, morning sickness and, mood swings and all of that. And some of that is kind of natural, but it's not necessarily that natural. It's just common, the same way really painful periods are common, but that doesn't mean that that is supposed to be what is happening. But we just aren't informed, okay? And it's not our fault, really. Like, we've been pushed all of these stories and these timelines, and you need to get pregnant at this age, but then we're stressing, and then we're having hard times getting pregnant because we're under so much stress. And even when it comes to the financial component, and this is something I really did not think about when I was like 25. I'm like, oh, like I want to have a kid when I'm like 27, and like I need to get married and have kids. And again, if that's what had happened, that's great. There's a lot of people who are having kids at that age and everything works out, or you figure it out, and that's totally fine. But I mean, at 27, I wasn't in a good financial like place to be having a child. And even now when I think about it, I'm like, I could wait. I could definitely wait, because I want to nurture the relationship that I have with my boyfriend right now. I want to enjoy marriage for all that it will be. And again, I do not have the ultimate say in the path of my life. I think that's more of a spiritual thing, but I would like to, as much as I can, really relish and surrender in each moment, in each phase of my life. And I also know that that is going to allow me to be in a state of rest and digest, which is calm, which is not stressed all the time, which is not feeling like I'm in constant survival. And that's going to give me the best shot when it comes to being the healthiest version of me for my children. But, like outside of even having a kid, it's just like, it's a great place to be when you're not constantly stressed. And so I just think that we really need to slow down as women. We need to also look into the research and we need to educate ourselves if we are telling ourselves the story of I need to get pregnant and I need to have kids and marriage and all those things right now. It's not to say that we don't have a biological clock. We absolutely do. And even once you start hitting 40s, that's when it kind of drops a little bit more than the, only 1% every year. But sometimes we are misinformed. And yes, it is true that a lot of us could be struggling with even trying to conceive, because some of us are not even healthy, and it doesn't mean that you're not trying. And even in doing everything perfect, you still might not be able to get pregnant, or you might be still struggling. Even when it comes to relationships, I'm doing everything perfectly, I'm working on my traumas, I'm trying, I'm dating, I'm this and that. Sometimes you have to surrender. And I'm saying this with conviction in a way, because I've experienced this same phenomenon in different experiences in my life, one being having ulcerative colitis. My last flare-up really required me to surrender and to let go of this idea that I could just be perfect. And if I just found the right diet, if I just did the right thing, if I just had the right routine, if I just did more, and if I was perfect, then I could have that outcome. And sometimes that's not how life works. Another thing that has been coming out a lot more, especially more in like the holistic health and wellness space, but I guess in like the fertility world, motherhood and things like that, is the health and the quality of the male sperm and the person that you're with, essentially, right? Which makes a lot of sense. Essentially, you are procreating with somebody else, and the way that they treat themselves in terms of what they put in their bodies and their habits and their lifestyle, not only is that going to have an effect on your child, but also it affects how you experience your actual pregnancy, which is just crazy. But it's true. Like, of course, it's like, of course. And on top of that, coming back to just like focusing on fostering a healthy relationship, your mental health is so important when it comes to being a mother and even just being in a relationship, whatever, like just your mental health is important. And so the person that you choose to be with, they are going to impact your mental health positively or negatively. So I just think there are so many important topics that are not considered, and even if they're considered, they're not embodied. And I think that that's what I really learned in my mid-20s when I started to learn, I need to probably prepare my body to be healthy enough to have a good shot at having, children, essentially, and being fertile and all of these things. And yeah, I want to be in a marriage. Being in a marriage and like being in a stable relationship is going to be important for my children. And when they grow up and they need to have a father and all of these things, but then it's about actually embodying that. And baby, that takes time, because you have things to unlearn. You might not be the phase of your life where you're in a relationship right now, or maybe you're going through another flare up like I did. And then I had to rebuild my body from that. And now I'm like only in a state of like just like trying to get back on my feet again and take care of myself in that capacity, let alone like focusing on preparing my body to then conceive. And again, I'm not like putting rules on myself and my life. It's just kind of like I'm aware of these things. And even when it comes to learning how to be in a healthy relationship, taking your time, learning how to surrender, learning to work out of your perfectionism and trying to control things, and letting life be what it is, and also learning what should I be eating for my body when it comes to like my late 30s, if I want to be a mother, if I don't, whatever, all those things. That all takes time. That takes phases of your life. That takes chapters of your life. So be there in every chapter. That is what I have been learning as I'm getting older, is be here now, right? And that really brings you back to somatic work and regulating your nervous system. Be here now. Don't be in the future. Don't be worrying about the fact that you're 27, 28, I'm 32, I'm 34, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have da-da-da-da. It's understandable. And maybe there's an emotional release that needs to happen, right? Like, we don't have to deny the fact that we are getting older, and I am wanting to be in a marriage, or I want a relationship, or am I even going to have a chance to have children? That is all allowed. You're allowed to feel that, and even potentially mourn those losses, and even be frustrated that things are not working the way that you wanted to, because that is important as well. And that is a part of the process. I think that I've learned that heavily when it comes to grieving the loss of my mom. I think I learned that a lot during my intense flare up during the winter time, I had to allow myself to let that anger out and that frustration that I had with being like, I know why my body is like this, and I know what I should be eating, and I know the stress and all of these things, and I'm trying my best. I'm doing everything right, and I'm still having to wait for my body to catch up. And that takes time, and sometimes it's out of your hands. And I think that the last thing that I'll say, which I've kind of already mentioned, and I'll just end it here, is like sometimes you're just going to need to let go and let God. And if you don't believe in God, or you're not even spiritual, then maybe this will not really resonate. But I genuinely believe in the times where you just feel like nothing's happening, nothing's working, really try your best to lean on faith and believe that good things can come to you. And maybe there is a reason that things aren't happening the way they are right now, and that's okay. And to surrender in this moment and say, you know, what can I experience right now in my life? Like, what is being presented to me? Am I in a season of singlehood? Am I in a season of having to feel my feelings and let them out, and let out that disappointment of, I thought my life was supposed to be like this, or this is how it's going to turn out, and this is not how it's going to be? Or maybe it's about exploring how much comparison that you might be doing, or potentially just the misinformation that might have been fed to you. Maybe you're going to go down on a different journey and to really look into, what do I need to do to support my body in this way? Or learning about relationships. Like, I just think that this is a beautiful time for you to go inwards and really explore this period of your life instead of fearing this period of your life. And I think that that is really where a lot of us sit and reside in for a long time, is worry and stress about how you're not where you thought you were supposed to be, or you're not where everyone is telling you you need to be. And it's really about cutting off that noise as much as you can, and really just reminding yourself, like, is this what your life is supposed to be? You waking up every day and stressing about the fact that you don't have these things yet, and that you're not at this age here yet? I don't think so. I don't think that that is how we're supposed to be experiencing life. I think there's a lot of different phases of life that we are supposed to immerse ourselves in, and we are kind of resisting that a lot of the times. And I really just think the older that I get, I have so much more of that wisdom that I can carry with myself on the times where I feel like, ooh, like, timing, when's it gonna happen, this, that. I just try to remind myself that surrendering to this moment right now is the most important thing that I can do. There's gonna be things that I do not have control over, and I will work through them, and I will be resilient through them, and there will most likely be a reason for this certain timing of my life. And what can I do right now to really prepare myself and, you know, give myself the best shot when it comes to things like relationships and marriage and children, because there are so many things that requires of me that I still don't even know, and I need to navigate as well. And I think about the mother that I want to be, the wife that I want to be. She knows a lot, she's embodied, she's very wise, and all of those things take commitment and time. So I think, like, going into my 30s is very much so gonna be this slow progression into, okay, what I'm putting into my body, how I'm moving, the people that I'm moving around, the relationship that I'm in. All of these things are slowly going to bring me into a state of motherhood and, you know, and marriage and things like that. And I'm just going to go on that journey, and I'm going to learn those lessons when they come up, and I'm not going to rush that process, because nothing good in life is rushed, in my personal opinion, and life will be what it is. And yeah, I think that is sometimes hard to get to that mindset, but the more you practice surrendering and understand that there's things in life that you can't control, and once you let that go, it actually makes life a lot easier, and you typically will be in a lower stress state, and then you typically end up having the things that you want because you release them, you detach from them, you let them be, you let things marinate, you let your nervous system take a rest. And when your nervous system is in a state of rest and digest, your body heals, your mind heals, things become lighter. And that's the type of person that I want to be, and that's what I'm actively working on. So focus on what you can do in this period of your life. Get educated, relax a little bit, enjoy the current moment, stop comparing yourself so much to other people as well. Everyone's life journey is different anyway, so I don't know why we're like comparing ourselves like crazy to someone else's timeline, you know, like it's their timeline, not yours. And always allow yourself that room to feel all of your feelings and your emotions, like let that out. And that's a huge, well, not a huge, but that is definitely a section in my journal series that I'm going to be launching, is that journal practice of emotionally releasing and letting shit out, because there's going to be days where you're frustrated and you're annoyed and you're anxious and you're worried, and that is okay. I don't ever want you guys to feel like, all right, so now I just can't have days where I stress about the fact that I'm getting older. No, you're going to have those days and it's totally fine. I've had many of those days, and I'm sure I'm going to have many more of those days where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, as I get older, like if I'm going to have kids, or financially, am I going to be okay to have them? Or what about this? Or my husband, my boyfriend, things like that. That's okay. It's normal. You're human and it's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get what you want. It just means that you are human and you need to let those emotions out. So with that said, I'm going to link that YouTube video down below. I think it's very informative and it's just very helpful. You can also look at the comment section in there. You can also look under the comment section of that TikTok as well. There are so many women out there that you do not hear that are having late term or just like later pregnancies, and they are healthy, they are happy, they are so embodied, and they are happy that they had them later in life. And this is not to deter people from the fact that, once again, we have a biological clock, but it's just to see how it is absolutely possible. But what I will say is make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself and you party and you go out and you don't, you know, your nervous system's dysregulated and you don't have healthy relationships and you don't even eat a green leafy food ever, or you don't work out and, you know, all of these things, and you work yourself to the bone, and now you're pushing 40, yeah, baby, you might not have a child. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, like you're setting yourself up for a little bit of failure if you're not going to take care of yourself in that sense. So, you know, that's what I'll say about that. Yes, we have a lot more time than we think, in my personal opinion, but we also need to commit to ourselves. And this is why I've been so like adamant on talking about cycle syncing and being off birth control and things like that. And I can link the YouTube video that I did on my second channel when it comes to like why I've been off birth control for so long and the business side of that, not to really convince people to be off of it. There's many reasons why people are on it, and I don't even need to have that discussion with people in the comments. Listen, I'm not saying that every single person should be off birth control. I understand that it helps people with their underlying, you know, PCOS or mood swings, PMDD, or whatever hormonal things. I understand that, skin issues, but listen, I'm not going to get into it. I broke that down in that video if you want to hear it and whatever. I just think that we are absolutely just being bamboozled as women when it comes to the industries in which profit off of us, which are the birth control industry and the fertility industry. And it's not to say that IVF and all those things aren't very helpful, and it's very helpful. And I personally wouldn't even be opposed to having to go down that road if I exhausted every other option, if that's where I needed to go. So like, that's just like where I stand on that. But I do understand that even these industries, they are for profit and they don't profit off of you getting pregnant naturally. And actually, there is a really good podcast. I believe it's called Back to Basics with Anna. Her Instagram is Well by Anna. I really love her stuff. And she talks a lot about fertility, and she has a lot of episodes on it. And also talking about preparing yourself to conceive, and then also like actually in the phase of conceiving and what that means in terms of like what you'd be like eating and moving your body and things like that, just like taking care of yourself as a woman essentially. She talks about other things as well, but there's one episode called Unexplained Infertility Doesn't Exist, and it's with this Dr. Natalie Underberg, and she really just goes through some of the things that I feel like are very important that we need to learn as women when it comes to fertility and taking care of ourselves and what might be going on if somebody is struggling with fertility or miscarriages and things like that, like all of it essentially. And again, like I don't really even dive too much into those topics in terms of like my interests, only just recently, just because I know eventually I'm going to want to get into that phase. So like I'm not going to talk about things that I do not know. I understand that infertility is real, miscarriaging is real, all those things are real, and they're traumatic and they're hard, and there's a lot of unanswered questions in that realm that obviously I'm not speaking on, but I think that that is another good resource as well. And if there's any other resources that I like come to and I think of or I learn on my journey, of course I will share with you guys. But the reason why I'm also like continuing to talk about the fertility thing and that is because I think that once you open your eyes up to that world, you realize, hold on, let me put the brakes on here for a second, because I need to learn a lot more about this before I even just say I need to have a kid and I need to have it now, or I need to have marriage and I need to have it now. Do you know what that entails? That entails a lot of things, baby. And I don't even know half the things, and I'm going to learn them, and I'm going to give myself as much time. But again, leaving it also up to God, because who knows? Anyways, I hope I don't, like, I'm not trying to get pregnant tomorrow. I'm really not. And then also the financial thing, right? And then the career thing and the everything. So anyways, I think that's it. I've been going on a super long rant, but if you're stressing, please don't. Please don't stress. You have time. What's the point on worrying? I know you want the things that you want. I want them too. But try and do your best to not stress on the process and the journey of getting these things. And I think you're just going to live a lot more fulfilling life, and try not to fall into the fear mongering that is online and the stories of crazy experiences that people were having or the negativity. Okay. Those stories can be real, but what is going to be highlighted the most on social media is negativity and scarcity and fear mongering and things like that. All right. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like timelines are creeping up, relax. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.